What's up, everybody? It's your favorite iteration of Transformers that I don't know much about. It's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Armada Prime from Fans Hobby, which they call Naval Commander, which is fine. This is all known to me from John Garinger, great dude. Got out of Transformers for a bit, but he's back. Love to see him back. Love to welcome him back. But we are going to take a look at this guy, but there's a lot to take a look at, including accessories, so we're not going to waste a whole lot of time. We're going to jump right into it. He comes with 6 missiles. These missiles are red plastic and black plastic, I think, just snapped together. And other than that, they got a little bit of sculpt work there in the front, and that's about it. They can be loaded into the front of these missile launchers here in vehicle mode, and then pressing this gray button. Try not to have this thing fire, and then me lose it. It's spring-loaded to fire out. Now, if you want to see some power behind it, wait 1 second. Because they can also be inserted into the gun, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then you press on this side section here by the barrel, and it'll fire out that way as well. Hopefully you saw that. Hope so. Speaking of the weapon, you have some options here. So you can extend the barrel for 1. Nice red paint, nice silver and gold painted along the side as well. And then, of course, you have a handle. If you don't want the handle, you can also fold that back up and extend these handles here on the side. They're on ball pegs on both, which can be used to tab into the top of your trailer. And you have a little mobile cannon. With all of it folded away, you can take these 2 tabs and also plug it into, well, with this wheel out, plug it into the bottom of the trailer so that he doesn't have his, his cannon out there just announced to the world. You can stow it underneath the trailer. The gun can also be used in base mode, pegged into the top of the base. And the smaller version of Prime can hold the weapon in typical kind of make toys in Fans Hobby fashion, with the groove down the back of the handle that goes into a groove in the palm. And I say all that. There. I'm guessing it's the paint tolerance that's causing it to get jammed up a bit, but it can happen. He can't really close his hand around it really well, but he can hold it just fine. And the larger version can hold the gun in the same manner and holds it much more appropriately. You get 2 blue boxes, and they're fine. It's blue plastic with some silver paint on it, as well as some red accents. They can do a couple of things. You can mount them onto the side of the vehicle. If I can see what I'm doing. It's this square here and this piece. There it is. They can also house your, I believe these are called mini-cons. They can house that. You can also sit these kind of amongst this in this mode if you want. It's just another little thing you can do. Now, these also have a flap that will flip up to reveal more missiles. And you have another plug-in section. And you have this groove here. Get into the groove. You got this right here as well. And you can insert these into the front of your ramp. And honestly, I would probably go the other way. So that, like, if you had the mini-con in there, it could come out the side there down the ramp. You can also have them just clipped around with tension of the rails here. It's kind of tricky to do. Just line it up the best you can down at the bottom and then kind of pull it forward and you'll be fine. Those missile pods can also connect to his shoulders in the kind of large robot mode, as well as to his calves in his large robot mode as well. You get an alternate set of ears, painted gold. They look nice. They're just longer and a different style than the ones that come on him, so to speak, stock-wise. So I'm not going to switch this out. This doesn't belong to me. John has obviously made his choice in regards to preference. So far be it from me to make a change to that. But you do get them, which is nice. You also get this clear translucent piece. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know why. I'm not sure if it's a replacement piece. I just don't know. But you do get it. He also, of course, comes with a mini-con. It has some blue paint on it and some black paint on it. It rolls, and that's about it. Not a whole lot else to report. The transformation is fairly straightforward, but there is an issue with it that we will talk about. At least it seems to be. It's a good chance that I just got it wrong and I'm doing something wrong, but if I am, forgive me. So, all right. This arm is constantly falling off, and there's a section here, this is used to create the elbow joint. Oh, please don't let me lose that. I'll try to show you on the next one. Set that to the side. This arm as well comes out. You want to take this hood piece, untab it, bring it down. From the front, we're going to split the legs, get them around the head, and bring them down. Once you've done that, flatten the feet. Then we need to bring the arms up and lock into that yellow peg inside at the back of his shoulder. There's the other arm. Now that that's there, we can collapse this and spin the waist 180 and then spin his head, and that's him. Now, in order to get the arm working properly, you got to slide over the elbow, which gets you the hinge, and then I feel like there's something to do here, maybe. It came off again anyway. Perhaps not. I thought there was something here too, but maybe I got that wrong. Either way, I'll get his arms on and then we'll take a look at him. So there he is. He's pretty awful. The neck flap does hinge up and down. There's silver paint and blue paint on the face. The head itself does swivel, so the articulation's there. The shoulders are on little ball pegs. They tend to pop off. You can get out to there. Single hinged elbow gets you 90 degrees. It'll swivel-ish around. It comes unpegged. Same for the other side. You do get a waist swivel, obviously. And then the legs are in T-jointed ball joints to get you out to there. Forward and back. Single hinge knee. And then an ankle tilt. There's some like stuff in there that makes it good enough, I suppose, for the sake of being what it is, but certainly nothing to be excited about. There's a number of different places that you can click this guy on. There's a peg here for him. There's also one at each top and one on the corresponding side. And I assume that this goes on just fine, but I guess I'd better make sure. This is actually the first time I've ever applied a Minicon to anything. But, yep, there, you can do it. You can do it here, up top where the gun is mounted in, or on the other side. You can have him manning the base, though. As for vehicle mode, we'll kind of break it down and look at the brass tacks of it, as it were. It's decoed nicely. It rolls. There's real tracks. There's nice paint accents throughout. There's not a ton of paint finish, but there's nice paint accents. The gold comes through nicely, the silver, the blue, as well as whatever they got going on here on the windshield. I expect that that has some sort of meaning to folks. I'm not sure what it is, but the little design there in the windshield. The front grille looks good, nicely painted silver. And yeah, you know, we already talked about the missiles being able to move, the trailer's intact, like the tracks are rubber. The connection point, I believe, is right here for the trailer. It does allow for a pretty wide turn radius, so that's also nice. You know, there's not a whole lot else to say about it, other than it performs, I suppose, as it should. It's a little weird looking, but that's not necessarily Fans Hobby's fault. That's a design issue from Jump Street. But it's, you know, it's just like, it's like a weird looking truck carrying a weird camping trailer, I suppose. But it's fine. You know, it's generally fine. It looks the part. It does its job. And there it is next to Tiger Tracks. Before we get too far along, there's this thing that this is capable of doing, I guess, where you take this, you got to fold these forward, fold that, and then you got to bring these up and over, and then sort of box this out. You know? And these come back and tab back in together. Once again, we box this out. Can't fight me in a Porsche, I'll box you out, if you know what I mean. Put those like that, and then that's maybe this is from the cartoon or something. I've never seen it. I saw like 10 minutes of the first episode, and I was like, nope, not for me. But perhaps this is like a big thing that happens in the show. It could be that thing from that episode. It could be something he does all the time. I'm not sure. Kind of goes in the don't know, don't care category, but I figured I'd cover it just in case. Moving on. We'll separate Prime and remove him. And just open those two sections back up. And you want to open this up and this up. And then in order to get the clearance to kind of spin this all the way around, you want to extend these pieces here, and that will allow you to flatten this. And I think this also needs to come around, but I will consult the instructions real quick before we move much further. You want to get access to these barrels here. Lift up the entire knee and extend the barrels so that they can swivel around the kneecap, and separate the legs and just sort them however you want. This piece that was sitting up underneath that connected to Optimus, just flip it to the opposite side. Do whatever you gotta do to flip it to the opposite side. Then we're gonna pull down on these sections that house the missiles, and we're gonna pull up on these sections, and we're gonna pull these ramps down, and they'll flip out ×2. And then we want to get these up, but in order to do so, you got to spin at the base one time and then up at the top, I think is the right way to do that, and then peg them back in, I believe, to that. If not, well, I'll fix it later. I think this is right though. And then this whole section has to come up, get the crotch out of your way, and get these pieces out of your way. Lift this up, and then there's a little armature that comes down, and that pegs in to where the pelvis plate was. Get that going. I think that's right. Take this, fold this little tab in on this side. There's one on the corresponding side, and then these two pieces come up and interlock around it. And then this is already pretty much good to go. I think that they have it like that, but I don't think that looks anywhere near as nice. So I'm gonna have it like that, like a little bit of a softer kind of decline there. Let's see what else. This comes up. This is now supposed to sit up, and this is supposed to come up. And I think that's it. That's your base mode. And I'm pretty, look, if you guys know me, then you know I'm pretty forgiving of base modes. Like, as long as it looks like it can kind of do something, I generally see it as fine. And I feel like this looks like it does something well enough, you know. It's not too impressive, but it's not hateful. It's fine. It's ultimately fine, and that's what most base modes are, and I think that we should be pretty forgiving because they're kind of like an extra sort of added in thing, and to me not to be taken all that serious. Then you have Prime just as the truck. These are also little mini con ports here, so they can be utilized. Other than that, pretty much business as usual. Nothing that we haven't seen without the trailer, you know what I mean? So we'll split the legs, and we'll take and wrap them around, plug them back in, and move the kneecaps. Untab all this and bring this down. Bring down the forearm. Move this to the side, open up this flap here. I gotta find it. Where is it? Where are you? There you are. And then flip the hand out. And then you can slide this back up. You don't have to. It just slides up. What's supposed to anyway. I might have to deal with it. Same on this side. Bring it down. Down. Over. Open, flip, close, and slide up. That one went there. But that's just for proportions. If you want the extra joint in there, you can keep them down. Then you want to separate this grill, and it's on this like chain length. It's crazy. Bring this piece down. That'll tab back in. There is a matrix, got a little jewel up in there, and it does come out as well. I'm not going to do it, but it does come out. And then this has to go back up, but like all these little chain link pieces, we're just going to do the best we can here. There. And then make sure that this bumper's down, angle this red piece back, and fold in these pieces. And I think that's it. We'll get them cleaned up and we'll take a look at them. All right, so the head sculpt looks pretty good. We'll zoom in a taste on that. It's okay. Gold eyes, I'm not sure if that's accurate. We'll go with it. Gold crest there, silver on the face piece. The head is on a ball peg. You get limited up, good bit down. Swivel, confused prime look, all that works okay. Grill details are still great. The shoulder, you get a hinge inside of the chest. You also get a slight one at the shoulder proper, but using both, you still don't get the arm out even 90 degrees, which is a bit of a bummer. That massive ball peg will get you a bit of a butterfly though, and you'll get the swivel around. Now, we got silver paint here and here. We have a bicep swivel, and we have a wrist swivel. And then we have some nice kind of gold and silver and gold detailings. We also get the elbow on the single hinge that gets you 90 degrees. And like I said, if you want to cheat proportions, you can, and get a wider run, which I'm not even going to yank too hard on this thing, so to speak. And then we have the hips and legs. So we'll back out for the duration. And we'll just get these out of the way. Soft, that does irritate me. Soft ratchet for the hips gets you the full Van Damme. They get you the full Monty. There's a thigh swivel, but it's right above the knee. There's some silver details on the thigh. There's a single hinge ratcheted knee. And you got these little bit of detailings here. The lower leg, blue paint on the... And then you get a little bit of it. Actually, no, you can just... break the transformation, so to speak, get the full ankle tilt up, get a toe tilt down, and break the transformation, get a rocker as well. So all of that works fair. You know, I don't think there's any issues there. And then there he is from the back. You know, anytime that they do these like multiple different, like you can do this with them, and then this with them, and then this with them, like this mode is the one that tends to kind of suffer. And I don't think that this is any exception to that rule. But, you know, what are you going to do? Sacrifices need to be made somewhere, I suppose. It's fine. And then you have base mode kind of fully populated. So, there's that. All right, let's do the big guy, so to speak. Bring out the feet as far as you can. Rotate the entire toe up. And then tilt the tip of the toe back. Collapse the barrel. And spin it 180. Same for this side. Up, tab in, pull down, pull back, collapse, spin 180. Get this pelvis back out of your way. Then we pretty much just need to put all this back together again. So collapse that, collapse these, sit that in there, sit this down, bring these up, fold down and back, up, down, and back, and bring these pieces out. Spin the waist 180 and collapse it back down towards the bottom. After you've done that, split these two, collapse this. You want to tab these sections in to here, and I think I might have this backward. Yeah, I think it's like this and then like this. So you want this tab on the gray armature to go in to the white plastic there, and then bring down the tread over top of it. That'll kind of lock it in place. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just going to make sure that we have this sorted right. I think I had it backward. It's okay. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. All right, and then fold that over top of it and lock that in place. All right, I forgot to mention he does, I think, have a waist swivel. It's done by unlocking these white tabs here, but I can't get this one out, so... Okay, let's put the upper body pretty much back the way we had it. So open up your flaps here. As you can see, you won't be able to get the hands in, so just extend. That's where also I was talking about with the double jointed elbow if you wanted it. Fold that in, collapse that, fold this piece back over top. You're gonna do the same thing on this side. Good grief. Back in, over top. All right. And then we have to deal with this chest. So we have to kind of form the front of the cab again. So this comes down here. This comes out. But I got one. This comes back up. Why does this give me so much problems? So these two pieces, these chain links, they come in, which allows you to spin the chest 180, I think. Yes. And then they come back around to kind of, or back down rather, to kind of lock it in place. And then they connect up here, right? Oh, because of this piece, you imbecile. You got to bring this piece up. So then this piece will tab back in. And then this piece comes down and tabs back into the chest so that it looks like that. All right, then kind of get the arms sort of out of your way so that you can bring down the hips. They've been trying to do it the whole time. Now you finally given them the opportunity to. Go pretty much right back the way they were to begin with. And so does the knee pad. And then pull down to extend it. Open this flap, bring the hand out, close it back up, and just sort of orient your self here. So this comes down, this back of the shoulder tabs in there, and that sort of dictates where the shoulder is. So same for this side. We'll go ahead and do that. Well, let's go ahead and go back to the, spin it around, tab it back into the forearm, and then open up this panel here, extend, flip the hand out, close that up, bring this down, tab the back of the shoulder in, and we'll stop there. Then we open up the cab, flip the head up, and then we have to open these pieces up here. And actually, let's get these shoulders in place. So the shoulders have to go into this little set of notches inside there. Just deal with it. It's not the easiest, I'll be honest with you. You gotta bring them out here, and then you gotta like almost keep two, but like you gotta need smaller fingers to get these shoulders connected. I'll mess with that here in a bit. Bring out this chest. There's two sets of fold out pieces. And not a lot of wiggle room to get it out. Good grief, so to speak. All right, so then this piece here clips in there, and there, little lock and key system, and same for this side. Little lock and key system. And then you have to bring down the front piece. The tab that you're looking for is at the gray corner of the inside of this, and that will tab in, and then it'll leave this red tab on the outside, which is a little anti-intuitive, but that's the way it's supposed to be. And then on the back here, you plug in the blue pieces with 2 tabs into the back of the shoulder on both sides. And lastly, you can take him, sit him right behind this blue bar, and press down. And you're done. And that's it. I'll get him cleaned up. We'll take a look at him. All right, so let's talk about the figure. The head is on a ball peg, limited up, limited down, limited swivel. Nice sculpt though. The ears do move out, which is nice. And the paint on the eyes is a metallic red, which looks great as well. The shoulders, you get a universal joint at the base of the shoulder, plus an additional swivel inside of the chest. Using both, you'll get the swivel 360 around, and you can get the shoulder out to just about 90 degrees, a little short. Bicep swivel, single hinged elbow, which gets you just about 90 degrees. Wrist swivel, fingers are on a base pin knuckle, plus a secondary and tertiary knuckle, so fully articulated fingers, plus the thumb is on a ball peg and has a secondary knuckle if you count the ball peg as the primary. Gold paint looks good on the shoulders. Gold and silver look good on the chest. Silver accents from the truck end up coming through nicely. No issues there. I also like the smokestacks behind the shoulders end up looking really cool as well. Waist swivel works fine. No ab crunch. If we get our hip skirts out of the way, we have ratcheted universals. Little limited, but she gets you everything that you want. If we rotate our pelvis flaps out of the way, hope that didn't break. You can get this forward and back to a pretty decent range as well. Thigh swivel. Single hinged ratcheted knee that gets you 90 degrees. Ankle tilt down, ankle tilt up, ankle rocker, toe tilt up. So, I mean, articulation-wise, it has most everything with the exception of a butterfly and an ab crunch. It doesn't have the widest range on all the movements, but it has, I think, enough range to get you by. So I don't really think it's going to be an issue in any way, shape, or form. There it is from the back. Not the cleanest, right? Because of all this. I'm not sure if that's part of the design of the character, though. It could be, for all I know. But otherwise, I think it's a pretty decent offering. I think that there's enough here to kind of make it worthwhile. Size comparison wise, there he is next to the Magic Square Prime. So pretty large robot, to be fair. Pretty significant size. I mean, Magic Square Prime comes up to about mid-abdomen, so big fella. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negatives. Once again, there are a few limitations in regard to articulation. I don't think that there will be deal breakers for you. As you can see, you can get him in a pretty decent looking pose, but I will tell you the double jointed elbows would help a lot. Double jointed knees would help, but I think they might actually end up more of a hindrance due to the weight of the figure. Speaking of which, there is a slight balance issue. Not a huge one, but he does tend to kind of want to lean forward or lean back like Remy and Fat Joe, so you have to be a little careful in regard to that. The Minicon is trash. Absolute trash. Awful. So that certainly doesn't do the figure any justice either. I also feel, it's hard for me to kind of critique some of this stuff because I'm not exactly sure how important some of these components were to the original, but this is another kind of offering that I feel like suffers a bit for what it has to do in base mode, and I don't think that base mode is going to be where a lot of people kind of spend a lot of their efforts on this guy, and I wonder, if this figure could have been better off having taken a different approach. But it might be one of those things that's super important to kind of the lore, super important to the history, and if that's the case, I mean, who am I to get in the way of that or even critique it? If it's one of the staples, then it needs to be there. but I do feel like an awful lot is lost as a result of having to include those things, because I feel like a lot of the trailer components could be better stowed away than they end up being. But once again, maybe that's important to the original design also, but it just doesn't do much for me. Those two big rectangles hanging off the back of his flank. Also, I mean, this is a huge figure. It's a huge character for the series. It would have been nice to kind of get that premium paint job with it, and it really doesn't. And it could have benefited from that as well. I'll tell you where this guy does end up shining, though, and that's in the engineering department. There's a lot of really kind of impressive stuff that they do here to get from trailer to base to robot. Like, even though I think the base mode is probably a wash, it doesn't mean that it's not impressive in how it does it all. Pardon me as I move the camera. It is kind of interesting and nice to see a lot of the choices they made, like the legs of the smaller Prime becoming the arms of the bigger Prime. Just little decisions like that that end up becoming pretty fun to kind of walk your way through. On top of that, while it could use more articulation, it does have everything that you kind of need hard-boiled in, so that's not really an issue. There's paint accents everywhere, even though there's not a finish, which also helps with the visual representation. It has that like modular element where everything can kind of connect and add on and clip on here, kind of like the Diaclone stuff we've been looking at differently, but under a different brand name. The materials feel okay, and the build feels great. There's ratchets everywhere, so if you like this character, I think there's enough here to recommend it for sure. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.